batons swinging, people screaming, and a councilwoman advising people to sue the city she works for.
Everybody needs to start suing.
Tonight at 6, the video creating an even greater divide between Denver leaders, police, and demonstrators.
I could not believe that a public official was doing what is happening on that video.
Plus, a Castle Rock man is accused of helping Steve Bannon defraud the president's supporters. And an Aurora City councilwoman defends her plan to raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour.
There's a lot happening in this video on and off screen. Now, on camera, you can see Denver police swinging batons at demonstrators, sometimes indiscriminately. Officers say they were trying to bring order to a homeless sweep that had gotten out of hand.
Now, just off camera, the voice of Councilwoman Candy Baca telling protesters they need to call their attorneys and sue for every penny they can get.
Baca's opponents say this is another attempt to create chaos. On Twitter, the councilwoman suggested she's doing her job and sticking up for her constituents.
Chief Investigator Tony Kowaleski is covering the divide for us tonight. Tony?
Shannon Ann, lots of conflict here. That conflict between protesters and police as the homeless camp was being swept has added fuel to the growing conflict between the mayor and Councilwoman Candy Baca. She's upset with him for ignoring what she calls brutalization by police, and he's disappointed with her for encouraging protesters to go after the city.
It's a troubling video.
That's how Denver's mayor described this video, 8 minutes of chaos captured on a camera by a member of Denver's city council.
And we had some protesters show up, and then all hell broke loose.
Using the mayor's words, all hell broke loose when a group of protesters challenged police as officers were enforcing the city's unauthorized camping ordinance at a homeless enclave in the city. As more protesters showed up, more police were called in, and the situation escalated.
You're psychopath!
The video raises several questions. How did this conflict begin? Where did the protesters come from? Did baton-wielding police go too far? And then there is this statement.
Look at anybody who was hurt needs to sue. The liability went up after the state law changed.
Denver7 has confirmed that is the voice of Denver City Councilwoman Candy Baca. This is her video posted on her personal Facebook page. The councilwoman giving advice to protesters.
And when I heard her voice, it just sank. I could not believe that a public official was doing what is happening on that video.
I saw everything. It's all on video.
What does Councilwoman Baca have to say about the video and her advice to protesters? Well, we don't know. She hasn't returned calls to Denver7 Investigates. This morning on the phone, her chief of staff, Lisa Calderon, said, "I just watched your biased report." Referring to our story last night at 10, she concluded, "We have nothing to say to you." But Denver's mayor and the president of the police union had plenty to say.
I don't think in the entire time I've been in government, I have seen anything that's disturbed me more.
Candy Baca is playing politics. She's playing a game with the citizens of Denver and her district.
Now, we asked to talk with Denver's police chief, and he declined because the department is now reviewing the entire incident in totality. Councilwoman Baca did double down on her position with this tweet today. "If you were brutalized by Denver police yesterday, I apologize on behalf of the city leadership who will not." It concluded, "Nobody deserves this government-sanctioned violence." And within the last 15 minutes, Councilwoman Baca did release a 5-paragraph statement to us that included strong words that say, "Our mayor is deflecting responsibility for atrocious civil rights abuses against our citizens at the hands of Denver police." The last chapter of this conflict is yet to be written. And Shannon?
Tony, thank you. A Castle Rock man is one of 3 people charged with helping Steve Bannon defraud donors.
Those donors were promised that 100% of their contributions would go toward building that border wall with Mexico. Instead, prosecutors say hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent on home renovations, a boat, an SUV, a golf cart, jewelry, cosmetic surgery, and paying down credit card debt. Tim Shea of Castle Rock is accused of controlling a shell company used to hide these transactions. Shea was arrested by a postal inspector today. He'll be prosecuted on charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering.
Police in Loveland say a man has been trying to break into children's bedroom windows. He's been spotted at least 3 times at an apartment complex on Knob Cone Road. From what police can tell, he hasn't actually made his way into any homes. And a Fort Collins acupuncturist has been arrested on accusations he sexually abused his clients. Police believe more victims may be out there. Kent Nixon owns and operates Old Town Acupuncture on Cherry Street. This month, a woman told officers he touched her inappropriately, and already others have come forward with similar stories.
All right, now to those 4 major wildfires burning in Colorado, and a rare bit of good news for you tonight. The Forest Service sent us these photos of Hanging Lake today. So as you can tell, the Grizzly Creek fire did not make it to the water. The lower trail wasn't so lucky. That's going to need a little bit of rehabbing. As for the fire itself, it is now at 29,000 acres. It's still very much a problem. I-70 remains off limits and likely will be for some time. The Pine Gulch fire now, this is the one north of Grand Junction, now 14% contained at 121,000 acres. It is behind only the Hayman fire for the largest in Colorado history. Meanwhile, 2 smaller wildfires continue to burn near Fraser and west of Fort Collins, and containment there is likely weeks away. That is, unless Mother Nature decides to cooperate. Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson with us tonight. Please tell us you have some rain in that forecast, Mike.
We have some in the forecast. We have some on time lapse this afternoon. Check out this view from up at the Loveland ski area. Some nice showers moved through, and as they moved off to the south and to the east, you can see how it really cleared out the air in that particular view. We have a few severe cells down in El Paso County, but nothing that's going to bring significant rain. It's mostly lightning and gusty winds. And so the headlines are scattered gusty storms, not very much moisture. The poor air quality continues. This is the view of the smoke across the western United States. The orange and the red are the worst of the smoke. You can see how that continues tomorrow across much of Colorado and into Saturday as well. And so the upshot is that we're going to stay smoky and hazy and hot and dry for quite some time still to come. I do have one day in the 7-day that's only in the 80s. I'll share that with you in a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you. Governor Polis marking the first week of class with a visit to Village East Elementary School today. Village East is part of the Cherry Creek School District, which has decided to go back full time. Governor Polis supports their choice, but he understands why many teachers are nervous about in-person learning.
You have teachers that are excited to be in the classroom, and you have teachers that are worried, very worried to go back, and you have teachers that are both. I think most teachers are both. They're excited to go and worried to go.
And the governor's right, emotions are running high on returning to school.
Over the last week, we've heard from several teachers in Westminster who believe in-person learning is just a bad idea.
And others are just happy to be teaching in a classroom instead of over Zoom. As for parents, some don't have a choice but to send their kids back. Denver7's Ivan Rodriguez reports.
For many parents, dropping their kids off at school came with a different kind of reservation.
Mixed feelings, mixed feelings.
For Willow Mason, her concerns were met with the reality of having to put food on the table.
We're supposed to be going to work too. I didn't really have a whole lot of choice because if they decided to do remote learning, someone would have had to be there with them, and we just don't have that option.
Thousands of students within Westminster Public Schools were in a position to opt out of in-person learning and went the online route. Second grade teacher Audrey Thorstad says it's helped them socially distance more kids in the classroom.
With so many parents choosing to be virtual with the kids that are here, it allowed us to really take the time with those kids. I can also tell that my parents practice with my students wearing their masks.
She says even though she was worried at first, day one has been a success.
At the beginning of the summer, I was very scared. I was very nervous. I was very worried. But the thing that has brought me comfort is knowing how hard my school and my district has worked.
During school, everyone is required to wear masks indoors, desks are distanced inside the classroom, and every day there are temperature and symptom screenings.
A lot of people were trying to group up because they weren't used to being so far apart from each other all the time, but other than that, they've been really compliant.
Some teachers we spoke with who are already uncomfortable returning to school say they feel it's too soon for in-person learning. Despite today's apparent success, one teacher writing to us saying she is still terrified of going back into the classroom. Ivan Rodriguez, Denver7.
Colorado reporting another 330 cases of COVID-19 today. 15 additional people have died from the virus, so that makes 1,815 overall. Hospitals at least are doing okay. Only 238 of the roughly 10,000 beds are occupied by those suspected are confirmed to have the coronavirus. And tonight, all signs are pointing toward Colorado's economy taking a step backward. As of August 1st, 280,000 Coloradans were depending on unemployment benefits. Today, the state released data from August 8th showing that number has grown to 288,000. More than $4.5 billion in benefits have been paid out since March.
And the poor economy has actually emboldened those who believe we should raise the minimum wage. Aurora Councilwoman Allison Combs is proposing raising minimum pay from $12 an hour to $12.60 in 2021. With each passing year, people in Aurora would then receive another small raise, and then the money caps out in 2027 when workers would be paid a minimum of $20 an hour.
As all of us are feeling the pinch during this pandemic, it's our low-wage workers who are feeling it the most. They're the ones that are going to be evicted from their homes. We're all scared, but we can save real catastrophe for low-wage workers by making a modest increase to what they're paid at this time.
Now, Aurora's Mayor Mike Kaufman has called the idea a job killer and exactly the sort of thing we don't need right now. The minimum wage hike could come up in a study session next week, and the earliest it could see a vote is during the next council meeting on September 14th.
Colorado Supreme Court will decide whether Boulder was wrong in rejecting a ballot initiative. The court announced today it will hear the case of Bedrooms Are for People. Now, they're a group pushing to raise the number of non-related people allowed to live in a home in Boulder. They collected enough signatures to get their idea on the ballot, but the city gave them the wrong deadline and said they didn't qualify.